lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Everybody, I am so excited today to be speaking to Jolly Jess. Now, she's not actually called Jolly Jess, but that's what she's called in our household. Jess Hill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So why am I calling you Jolly Jess? Let's just explain a little bit. Obviously, you are a beautifully jolly person. And whenever I see you, you've got the most wonderful, happy energy and smile about you. But why do people call you Jolly Jess?
So Jolly Jess is my circus name. And in my circus school, all of the children and the staff, all the teachers are invited to have their very own silly circus names. And this is because I think it gives the children a sense of identity. They know that when they come to the circus, they can let their hair down and really, really have fun with us. And I feel like in school, if they've been told, George, stop, George, colour in, George, do this. When they get to circus, they're juggling George and they can do whatever they want. And I just really love that. They get this identity. They get to learn who they really are. They get to be their true self when they come to circus, and they identify by their silly circus name.
Amazing. So we've mentioned the word circus a couple of times. So I feel like we probably need to explain to everybody, all the listeners, a little bit about what it is that you do.
So I run Showtime Circus, which is a circus franchise. We have 10 all around the country and one now in Scotland too. And we run circus lessons for children. So they learn aerial, hoop, silks, trapeze, stilt walking, tightrope, juggling, hula hoop, poi, flower sticks, basically everything circus. And we run those sessions for children, honestly, any age. We do babies right the way up to a BTEC course, all the way to adult classes too. So that's for everyone. Everyone's welcome at the circus. And yeah, I now teach other people how to open their very own circus schools or how to add on circus and aerial to their dance school if they already own a dance school.
Amazing. And circus is something that is kind of, I feel like it's having a bit of a boom at the moment. Like, obviously, that circus schools have been around for decades and decades. But in terms of it kind of starting to infiltrate into the dance world and dance school world, which is obviously who most of my listeners are, this is kind of fairly new, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think directors are now starting to see that circus does have such a great impact on these shows. So whether you're doing a cruise ship show, a cabaret, even musicals now have lots of circus elements in them. And directors are sort of going, do you know what? They really lift the performance, elevate the performance. I'm making myself chuckle there because that's such a pun. But it really does. And they've started to realise that, you know what, we can do a great performance here. And they're starting to sort of latch on to that dancers who can do these skills are so much more employable now. And I do think dancers really, really take to these skills really well. And I know that because I was a dancer. I went to Bird College. I toured doing musical theatre and pantomimes. I did Showgirl in Paris, all of the dance jobs. And then I think I got a bit bored, to be honest. And I was like, what can I do now to challenge me? And my agent sort of said, if you learn these skills, then I can pay you more. So I was like, boom, done. I'll learn them. So off I went. And I actually did one of the very, very first dancers intensive courses in the UK. So it was a week-long aerial training course for dancers. I think it was probably, 12 years ago now. And yeah, we picked it up. All of the dancers on that course picked it up really, really easily. And so it just sort of is a snowball, because then these directors got dancers who could already do aerial. And then they were like, oh, what else can you do? Or what else can you do? And then it's snowballed from there, really. And now it's a huge thing. Now cabarets, cruise ships especially, use aerialists all of the time. And so for dancers wanting to go into the industry, it's really important to be able to do those skills. It makes them very castable. but also things like stilt walking, fire dancing. When I was in between dance contracts, I would get to stilt walk at incredible festivals for quite a lot of money as my in-between job. And like, how cool is that? That's so much cooler than like, waiting tables. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but in between your dance contracts, you want to come back and do these awesome festivals and things like that. And with these extra skills, you can do that.
Yes, I hadn't thought about that element actually, for dancers to be able to have work that they can do in between for sort of corporate events. And yeah, that's an amazing extra, string to their bow. And I was working on some cruise ships last year, did a couple of mini contracts, and yeah, absolutely, all the shows had aerial, or circus type skills within them. And going back a few years when I was dancing, actually going back a lot of years, the people that did those skills were normally specialists. Like they only did the circus stuff. Like the dancers weren't expected to be able to do any of that. They were employed as dancers and that was it. And then it started to become a bit more of a thing where casting directors would start to say, right, who can do tricks? Who can backflip? Who can do? And then it became apparent, I think, in like the last 5 to 10 years that actually some of our dancers need to be more versatile. They need to be able to also have some acrobatic skills. And so then that has had a massive insurgence. And so many schools now up and down the UK and, well, around the world are now also teaching kids elements of acro or gymnastics, which at one stage really set them apart from the normal dancers. But of course, now all dancers are training in these things. So it feels like circus is that new, do you know what's going to set you apart now is if you're an incredibly trained dancer, if you can do some acro, but if you can also eat fire and walk on stilts and do crazy stuff that you teach people to do, that's now going to set you apart. So I can understand how somebody like yourself that now teaches teachers to teach this in their schools, like it feels like this is really needed now.
Yeah, it's needed. It's fun, but it's definitely will set those dancers apart for a really good, varied career. And I know the massive boom that acro has had. I don't know if you know, but I adjudicate the Dance World Cup as the head acro judge. And I've seen those sections are now huge. They're huge. Everyone does them. And so you're so right. Circus and aerial are the next things that will set those dancers apart. And sometimes I'm like, I would love to get my hands on those acro kids and get them up on that equipment because they'd be so good at it. So yeah, I love it when those sort of dancers who are, really well trained by their dance teachers come and do those classes with me because I'm like, yes.
And I loved when you said earlier about how, dancers just take to it really well because obviously they've got, the strength, the tone, the poise, the elegance, it's not like training someone that's not in the arts to suddenly do the circus skills, which obviously people are trainable. But to have a dancer, that must be a bit of a dream for a circus teacher.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it does stem from back when I did my very first aerial contract. I was hired as an aerialist and all of the dancers had been doing that contract for a while. And they sort of elbowed each other and was like, have you seen this new aerialist? She points her toes. And they were like, whoa, she's really musical. She performs, she points her toes. Obviously, I went on to make really, really good friends with them. But yeah, they were just sort of like, whoa, we can see like what a difference it makes when a dancer does the moves. And so, yeah, I do think to have that incredible training from the dance teachers, the core strength, the lines, the musicality, it all just ties together really, really nicely to create an amazing circus performer.
Yeah. And I guess also, like you just said with the acro kids, because some schools will have children that do acro and that's all they do. They don't necessarily do any of the dance classes, but that's another like big bonus. If you can get kids, if you're already already delivering acro in your schools, obviously circus classes is, for anyone, available to anyone, but those acro kids that maybe don't want to dance, might want to go upside down and be on a hoop, right?
Yeah, and this is why I'm really proud of the syllabus that we do, because I actively encourage the teachers to do the circus classes. So they're like what I call your bread and butter. So the circus classes are the ones from a business point of view that are more profitable. And so that's why I always encourage, people are always like, oh, they only really want to do aerial. And I'm like, that's great. But as a teacher, you want to make sure that your classes are profitable. And how I found that we do that is by doing the circus. So those circus classes have elements of aerial. They still get to do the aerial hoop and silks that they love, but they also get to do poi, juggling, all of the fun things too. That just means there's more children are able to be in that class to run that syllabus, which obviously means more profit for a dance teacher. Then for those kids who are the high level acro dancers or high level dancers, you can add on the aerial lessons that are smaller lessons you charge a little bit more for. Maybe don't make quite as much profit, but do give your dancers that, aerial experience. So that's why this business sort of really works, is because we have that circus syllabus where you can make your bread and butter, and then you can pick what you then add on top of that, whether it's your baby sensory classes, whether it's your BTEC course, whether it's adult fitness classes. Home education classes are full whenever we run them. So it's all of those different elements that you can also add. And it's up to you what your type of school, whether you want to go, do you know what? I want to do the circus. I want to open it to, I always say Darcy does the ballet classes and her little brother George, who's running around, he comes in and does the circus. It's whether the dance teacher wants to be, let's run the circus classes, or whether they're like, do you know what? I do want to do it more high level. I'll run the circus for those type of children that want to try different things, but I'll also run the aerial for my like elite class, dancers too.
Yeah. And in fact, that's no different to all of our classes, isn't it? Because, kids initially might sign up because they want to come and do a nice street dance class for a bit of fun. But actually, if they get serious about it and they're more committed, then, there's crews they can join, there's competitions that they can do. Or, if it was a ballet, for example, they can start taking exams, they can start doing more classes, they can do PBT, point class. There's always the options, isn't there, for the more serious kids to move into more. And it's lovely to hear that that's the same with circus. It's not just come and have a bit of fun and go home again. There's ways that can be developed, isn't there? Especially for those that want to be professional dancers.
Yeah, for sure. They can develop the skills that they're going to need to go on to do it. And also, again, obviously I'm plugging me, but to be part of Showtime Circus, we get to perform at like Can You Dance, Move It, all of those massive things in the UK. We are the circus school that performed there. So for any child that does our circus classes and then progresses through to do more and more and more and wants to get those performance opportunities, they're there with us to come and get those opportunities, which is really exciting as well.
Amazing. So forgive me for being a complete novice when it comes to circus, because this wasn't around when I was training. Tell us a little bit about what the kids do. So if, say, somebody was to buy your franchise or your bolt-on package and start delivering classes, what do they look like? Let's talk about, the nitty-gritty for someone like me that doesn't know anything.
So talk about a general circus class now. So the children would come in and they'd be greeted by their teacher and they would pick their silly circus names and we would call them that for the whole session. And then we would play like a game that warms them up. We call it Ringleaders Coming. And the children run around and go a bit crazy and they make popcorn where they jump up and down and hot dogs where they do their burpees and, things like that. Spin around for their candy floss. And that gets them really physically warm without really realising. And then we normally do a bit of a stretch and a bit of an après session. And then they will split into two. So there's always two teachers or a teacher and assistant running the classes. So then once they've done their warm-up, they'll split into two. Half will go and do the aerial hoop and silks and half will do the circus skill for that session. So say it's week 2 is poi. They'll learn their poi skills that they've learned in their training, but that they also have access to the videos, tutorials to learn and go over if you think you need a little recap. And so one teacher will teach half of the kids poi, one teacher will teach the other kids their aerial. Halfway through that session, they'll swap over so that every child gets a chance on the aerial, every child gets to do the poi. And then at the end of the session, we do like a really silly cool down and then we say goodbye.
And then each week they do a different skill. What are all the different types of skills that they'll be learning?
So my syllabus has been curated so that it is really easy to teach for the teachers. I understand that you're not going to learn all of these mega amazing circus skills in the 5 days of training, 3 to 5 days of training. And so I've sort of done it so that the first week of the half term is everything. The kids get to try everything, get to go wild, and they absolutely love it. The next week they do, I can't remember off the top of my head, so apologies, but the next week they do poi. The next week they'll do juggling. The next week they'll do all of the balancing skills. The next week they'll do the flower sticks. And so as a teacher, you're only having to recap your juggling skills once every 6 weeks. And you're like frantically looking through all of the video tutorials, like, right, okay, let's recap this juggling once every 6 weeks. And the children can progress really fast if they want to, but as they only really pick up those skills once every half term, they're not going to massively get incredibly crazily good at juggling, which is going to make you go, I don't know what to teach you anymore, because the next week they're doing pulling, so they've moved on to something else. And obviously if you do have that child, we do have some children who are quite fixated on like Diablo or something like that, and they want to do that every week, and we are super inclusive, so of course they're welcome to do that, and they again have the access to the video tutorials to be able to help that child progress a little bit faster.
So I thought I would just share with you guys today the planners that I have produced for dance school owners, because these are flying out of Amazon like hotcakes. And if you don't have yours yet, then all you have to do is pop to Amazon and type into the search Deborah Laws, and all 3 books will come up. So the Ultimate Dance Business Planner I designed for you so that you had a little bit of a Deborah on your desktop. The planners are full of business training, tips, motivational quotes, things to do at the start of the month, things to do at the end of the month, ways in which you can plan out your marketing and your retention, and they are selling all over the world. So go to Amazon, grab your #1 best-selling Ultimate Dance Business Planner, and enjoy mapping out the growth for your studio. It sounds like so much fun. And of course, that's what circus is all about, isn't it? All the fun of the fair. And so in terms of teachers that will be thinking, this could be a lot of fun. The way I look at it from the business side of things is that this could bring a whole bunch of kids into your school that wouldn't normally perhaps be attracted to your dance classes. It could capture those siblings, as you said, that aren't wanting to do a dance class. But also, it's an additional income stream, isn't it? Even if they don't ever take up a dance class, this is an opportunity to earn more money in your school. But obviously, most teachers don't have this skill set. So how does it work for the teachers listening saying, well, it all sounds great, Jolly Jess and Deb, but I am the world's worst juggler. I can't balance. And I certainly can't pull myself up on a hoop. Obviously, you've got the answers to this question, but I'm sure there's people listening thinking, well, I couldn't teach circus for love nor money. So how does that work for those people?
Yeah, so do you know what? A lot of people have said the same thing, and I am yet to have a franchisee who has not learnt to juggle in the first 3 days. So I'm going to stick to that one. Hopefully I won't have anyone who's going to prove me wrong. So with regards to the ground-based equipment, I do step by step, and we go as fast as you need to, and then you have the videos, as I said, to do in your own time. If you want to, if you think you're fine, you only need to pick them up when you need to. With regards to the aerial, it is, again, a lot of fun. We find that a lot of the dance teachers can already do most of it. But I actually did start videoing all of the moves and coming up with this sort of step-by-step videos because I stopped being able to do it myself, because I actually have endometriosis. And so I had quite a few surgeries. And so I can't go upside down as much as I'd like to anymore. And so I had to sort of step back and video my kids doing it. So now I've learned that as long as I teach the teachers all of the safety aspects and they know what they're looking for, they know the niggles, they know the common mistakes, they don't necessarily have to be able to do all of the hardest moves. They just need to know what they're looking for. As long as they've got, the videos to hand and they've got the assistants, I always encourage people to bring assistants with you to learn. Bring your 14, 15, 16-year-olds with you to learn. And they can demonstrate it. they are still going to deliver fantastic teaching, whether they can or can't do it anymore. It's frustrating for me. I can't do it anymore, but I know that I'm still a fantastic teacher, So
yeah, and actually that's the same, isn't it, for those of us when we start getting a bit older and we can't physically demonstrate some of the stuff anymore. What you do have is the wisdom and the methodology in your teaching to be able to still teach incredible classes, even if you can't physically get up and demonstrate anymore. So I can understand how that works. And I guess also similar to acro, there's not many dance teachers that can do half the acro stuff, but they really know how to teach it. So yeah. I guess that kind of dispels those fears, I suppose. So when you're looking for schools, if someone came and approached you today, someone listens to the podcast and they're like, actually, I've been thinking about this. This sounds really good. Like, are there certain things that you look for in your franchisees that they have to have in order to make great circus teachers?
I would definitely say the ability to let their hair down. So some teachers are quite strict. And I think to get that circus element across, you have to be able to shake that off. You have to become Jolly Jess or whatever, Razzle Dazzle Deborah or whatever deciding yours is. You have to be able to be silly, because the kids that come to the circus are attracted to that silliness. They probably tried a dance class very similar to yours and have found that it wasn't quite right for them. So you do need to be able to shake that off, or have a teacher in your team who can, if that's not you, and that you send to do the training and to get across that silliness. And I think the kids just really engage with it and really, really love it and latch on to those silly teachers. And I think that's the only thing that I would look for. I think if somebody was a bit more reserved and wasn't sure that they could, shake that off and lose their strict ballet mistress. I don't know. I don't think there is anyone, but if somebody would struggle with that, I think I'm not sure they quite deliver the right class. But yeah, I think that's it really. A bit of silliness.
Yeah. And a little bit of your very contagious energy wouldn't go a long way as well, because you do rub off on us all, Jess.
Yay!
And so let's talk a bit more about the financial side of things. So if somebody was thinking of running classes, obviously because they want to bring joy to kids' lives, they want to help make them more versatile in terms of, potential career, all the things we've already talked about. But for them, running classes, some people might think, gosh, there's going to be a lot of equipment to buy, a lot of training, this is going to be a massive investment in my time and money. What am I going to get back from this? How does the financial model work for people?
So the equipment is already included in the franchise price, the bolt-on franchise price. So all of that equipment is already included. And then with regards to classes, so they obviously can do as many or as little classes as they want a week, but they also can add on things like birthday parties, school workshops, home education. And these are huge incomes that perhaps dance teachers hadn't really thought of before. So we go into schools. We always go in during receptionist time. So to welcome all of those new little ones into the primary schools, we always go in and then to do school workshops. And that is a huge income for the teachers. We do a birthday party at least every week, if not more. And again, that's a huge potential earner for all of these teachers. And so alongside your weekly classes, which is a steady stream of income coming to you, whether you choose to do circus and aerial, your adult classes, your home education classes, all of the things that can go on in the daytime when your studio is empty. You've also got your evening classes, but then you can also go out into the community. You can do these community festivals over summer. We're out every week at a community festival, which is a good money earner over summer, whilst we've got the studios closed. You can go into primary schools, high schools. We always do, when is it? Oh no, that's primary schools. Year 6 go on PGL. We always do a circus PGL. We're always chocker. And then high schools for a treat. It's always a nice treat for year 10, I would say we get booked the most for, to go in and do a little treat for those as well. So there's just loads. I'm not just teaching you how to add a circus class. I'm teaching you how to go out into your community and make everyone love circus and come and join you and do loads of different things out in the community.
Yeah. And, it pains me to say this because I'm from a pure dance background, but it almost feels like some of those things that you just mentioned, I think we'd struggle to get out doing all those things, even with just pure dance. Like it's hard getting into secondary schools. I know you can get into primary schools and do workshops, but, the local community events and, I don't know. I just feel like this is something I can see the huge income potential if you really develop this as a business, because it feels like who doesn't just want to go and have a bunch of crazy fun playing with all these different instruments? And dance isn't always perceived as that. Sometimes there's a perception of dance that it's very disciplined and you got to be really seriously into dance. Well, you haven't got to be seriously into circus to go and join in with a local event, have you?
No, not at all. You can go and just have the best fun. Like we always do these festivals where the children come and have the most amazing time and then leave. And I do think because the equipment is so big and so colourful, you can literally see what you're paying for as soon as you get there. So council who book you for a Christmas light switch on or their summer fair, you get there, you load this equipment, which by the way can pack down into the back of a Volkswagen Fox I used to run this business from, so it can pack down into that, but then when you set it all up, it's so big they can literally see exactly what you've charged them for. They can see, and they see the beams of the kids on the kids' faces, and they see how happy circus makes everyone, and so they know that they're happy to pay it and they book you again next year.
Yeah. I'm kind of almost wishing I still had my dance school so that I could start some of these classes. So obviously, you've got your own personal dreams and ambitions for this business. You've mentioned that you've got 10 schools currently, but I'm guessing, I'm speaking for you here, but I'm guessing, you'd like to have hundreds. Like you want lots of people to enjoy these classes. What are your kind of goals for the next couple of years, Jess? What are you hoping to achieve in terms of, signing more schools up?
So my biggest short-term goal at the moment is to get a full franchise. So that means somebody who doesn't have their own dance school, which is actually, I probably shouldn't mention whilst I'm on a dance school podcast. But I love my bolt-on. And so everyone who I've got at the moment already has a dance school and they've bolted this on to their dance school. They're doing really, really well and I'm really proud of them. My short-term goal as a business owner is to get that one full franchise. So I'm really, really looking forward to inviting my first franchise on board. I would love to, big visions, and you've got to think big, is to be like Stagecoach is for musical theatre and for the circus world. And I do think I've put circus in like a really nice shiny box with a bow on it, and it makes it really accessible for people to do. And I do think, it won't be long until we're like that. And we've got one in every town. And yeah, I would really like to be well known in the UK for providing high quality, really super fun circus workshops and opportunities for future performers.
Amazing. So you just mentioned there, just to touch on briefly, that you can be a full franchisee, which means that you don't need to come from a circus or a dance background. You don't even need to have run a business before. You teach people everything. Or if you already have a dance school, then you have something that you call a bolt-on, where you obviously assume that people already know a little bit about business. They don't need quite so much hand-holding. They just want to add the classes to their timetable. And that's a different package. So you've got the two different packages?
Yeah, two different packages. So yeah, the full franchise teaches everybody literally everything. So starting from the scratch, what hall you want to run them from, getting people on board, all of the marketing, literally everything. Whereas the dance school, as you mentioned, if you've already got a dance school, you already know what hall you use or ones in the area that you like to use. You've already got a decent name in your area and a number of students that you already have. So you've started already, sort of thing. So that's literally half the cost, because yeah. Well, I definitely give you more than half of the package, but it's half of the cost.
Amazing. So Jess and I are going to put together fairly soon a bit of an opportunity for anyone that wants to know more. We're going to kind of work together on this because I feel really passionate that what Jess is doing could work really well in terms of business for dance schools. So we're going to put together a Zoom presentation. You can come on it live, or when we've done it, we will pop the recording into the show notes, just so you can find out a bit more and find out how it could work for you. So we're very excited to be working together on this going forwards. Jess came to my dance business conference in the summer. Well, the last two actually. It's always fun seeing her at the back of the room, juggling and getting people joining in. And she appeared on stilts at our gala dinner dance this year, which is amazing and fun. It just is all a lot of fun. And who doesn't want to have something in their business that earns them great money whilst having fun? Like, bit of a dream, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't help but smile. Honestly, you could be in like such a tricky mood, or and then you go into a circus class and you just can't help but come out of it smiling. So yeah.
I think we all need a bit of this. Jess, it's been so lovely finding out about the business, but in particular how it can be helping other dance school owners to earn a bit more money. So hopefully this has been helpful for everybody today, because most people are starting to hear about circus classes, but a lot of people potentially still didn't know an awful lot about how it works and what it's all about. So hopefully that's helped everybody a little bit today. So I just like to finish with a bit of a fun roundup at the end of my podcast, where I just throw some questions at you and, just say whatever comes into your head. So are you good to go with this one?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
People get more nervous about this than the rest of the podcast. So my first question is, what is your favorite vegan food? And I say that because I know that you're vegan. So I knew this about you already.
Oh, do you know what? I'm terrible. I love the Beyond Meat burgers. They're just so good because they're kind of close to real burgers and they're just so good.
Okay. Normally I ask what favorite ice cream, although you do have vegan ice cream. So I could have asked you that question. Okay. What is your favorite podcast or business book?
Oh, The Big Leap is my favorite one in the whole world. Living in Your Zone of Genius. That's incredible. And I'm also doing one at the moment called The 52 Weeks of Greatness by Napoleon Hill. And it's one thing every week that you think about. I think I'm on about 26 or something. And it's just really massively helping. There's two. So.
That's amazing. I'm going to go and Napoleon Hill's got some great stuff. So I think I'll go and find that one. If you were to spend 15 minutes with somebody from history that's no longer alive, who would that be?
Oh, that one's... Do they need to be famous?
No. Could be anyone.
No. So I'd probably be so when I was younger, my partner passed away, and I'd just love 15 minutes with him to be like, are we good? Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you proud of me? I would just love that chance.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And what about someone that's still alive, if you could spend 15 minutes with anyone at all?
Mel C.
Oh, really? Tell me more. Why Mel C?
Probably say something a bit more like business inspirational, but honestly, so growing up, obviously I love the Spice Girls, and then all of the dance competitions I used to do, her name used to be on the trophy. So she would win song and dance, and she'd have won it a few years before, and then I win it, and then most promising, and then she went to Bird College, and then she went into musical theatre, and basically I think she's been my idol, and I'd really like to spend 15 minutes in that.
Oh, I love that story. Absolutely love that. And I stole this recently from listening to the Stephen Bartlett podcast, Diary of a CEO. At the end of every podcast, he asks the guest a question to pose to the next guest. So the question I'd like to ask you that our previous guest asked was, what do you think makes someone successful in business? What do they need in order to be successful?
They need to know what success looks like for them, I think. So if to be successful, you might be so successful, but you haven't ticked a certain box. And so you don't sit back and go, oh, I'm successful. So you need to know what your success is so you can measure it. So then when you get there, you can go, wow, this is what I would say was successful. So then you can be like, well, I've hit it. So am I going on from here, or am I happy here?
Yeah, that's such a great answer, Jess. And I actually did a post about this week, bizarrely, because I've just managed to employ someone to do my ironing. And to me, that is like, there's no more success to me than not having to do my ironing anymore. And it's such a thing. But, I've never been in a position where I could warrant paying someone to do my ironing. Like, that's ridiculous. I could save that money and do it myself. So actually to have hit a point where I can do that without feeling bad or guilty or like I'm going to miss that money is a massive measurement of my success. So it can look different for absolutely everybody. So I love that answer. Thank you. And if you were to pose a question for our next guests, what might you ask them?
Oh, the pressure. What would I ask them? What would I ask them? Oh, Deborah. You should have warned me about this one. I want it to be a good one. I would ask them, still don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm so indecisive. I would ask them, what is, just going off the big leap, what is your zone of genius? What's in your zone of genius? And how do you tap into that? How do you reach that? How do you live that?
Fabulous. We got there, Jess. We got there. And it's a great question. So I will ask the very next person exactly that question. Thank you. It's been so much fun hanging out with you today. And, on a more serious note, learning a lot more about circus and, having that as a bolt on. And if you're listening to this after we've done our little Zoom presentation, do check it out. Get in touch with Jess. Let her know that you've heard her on the podcast and you loved it. And if you haven't yet been on we haven't done the Zoom presentation, make sure you come and join us, because I think if nothing else, it would be great to work out how this could work for you. And so much fun. Can't wait to see you at our next conference to see what circus tricks you're going to pull out the bag for us. I'm off to work out what my performing circus name is.
I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you so much, Jess. Take care.
Thank you.
So I wanted to quickly tell you a little bit about Showtime Circus. This is run by my good friend Jess, who has created an incredible circus bolt-on franchise for your dance school. Because aerial and circus performance skills has become a really desirable skill set for choreographers and casting directors. And so Showtime Circus offers the opportunity to buy a franchise package which will give you all of your necessary equipment, training from experienced staff, syllabus plans, ongoing support, and business support to launch your new franchise. It will really energize your school with increased revenue streams, new student opportunities, and of course, bring all the fun of the circus to your school. So do go and visit showtimecircus.co.uk to find out what the new buzz is around circus skills.